We are called, as you can hear, we're called Black News, and I'm Pastor Bruce Wall, and I'm thankful to have the opportunity to yet again be live on the air and to engage you and spend some time sharing vital information that's important in building a nation. Today, I've been processing a lot regarding the Boston Public School Department, and this isn't my lane necessarily, but I have been interacting and dealing with some people who are part of the Boston Public School system, and they have been sharing information with me about what's happening in our school system as it relates to the administration. I have a lot of concerns that have come to my attention, a lot of concerns about the information that has come to my attention about how black educators are being treated by the administration. I've made some telephone calls to the Boston School Committee and wanted to speak to their media representatives and wanting to meet with the new school superintendent and have a discussion with her and others. But I've decided to wait to see if the issue would resolve itself, and it has not. So the Schoolyard News, at the schoolyardnews.com, is an independent parent-run news site for Boston public school families. The schoolyardnews.com, an important online newspaper that you need to be reading. The schoolyardnews.com is an independent parent-run news site for Boston public school families. And they came out with an article the other day that once this article was written, I felt that I could talk about what I've been sitting on for the past 3 months. Again, I've been talking to an attorney. I've been talking to a few people who are a part of the Boston public school system, and I didn't feel that I was ready yet to step into this and spend time with you talking about it. But this morning, I believe I'm ready because this Schoolyard News actually did a story, and this is the title of the story. It says, "Top BPS educators of color are pushed out if they protest racist practices and try to promote equity, retired educators charge." Let me read that again. I read this the other day, and once I read it, I felt, okay, now is the time for me to talk about what I've been processing and dealing with and talking to school officials, school representatives about what's really happening in the Boston school system. The name of the article is "Top BPS educators of color are pushed out if they protest racist practices and try to promote equity, retired educators charge." BPS spokesperson says an outside lawyer is reviewing these concerns. And so I have the article in front of me. I have the letter that a group of black educators wrote and sent to the BPS officials. This article, Elaine Jalen wrote, is interesting, and I want to read this article to you. I want to share it with you. It's important that I read it so that I can capture all of the substance in the article. If I just highlight it or talk about it, you're not going to get the essence of what they're trying to say. 15 retired, high-ranking Boston public school leaders of color are demanding that Superintendent Mary Skipper put an end to what they see as a pattern of targeting black and brown central office leaders. 15 people came together and decided to put their signatures on a letter that was going to the new school superintendent, Mary Skipper. That's important all by itself. That 15 black former school officials came together, came out of retirement to say, we have to speak up about this. In a letter to the superintendent, They say, quote, investigative meetings, end of quote, and administrative leaves have been weaponized as a way to get rid of black and brown officials who are seen as troublemakers. So if you have identified some of the serious problems in the leadership of the Boston public school system, if you talk about it, if you try to do something to stop it, you are labeled a troublemaker, and they will scrutinize your work. And if they find anything out of place, or that appears to be out of place, that they can say is out of place, if they find anything that they can use to throw at you and scare you and scare you into resigning from your position rather than them firing you, then this is what happens. They are the school department officials. The Boston School Department officials have weaponized the administrative leave or investigative meeting. So when you've done something that really shouldn't mean that you should be terminated, maybe a reprimand, maybe someone comes alongside of you and counsels you and helps you not to do it again. But what they have done in the school system is that they have established something called investigative meetings. Keep that in your mind. Investigative meetings or administrative leaves. Now, normally, the investigative meetings or administrative leaves, if they're really trying to shape you as a leader and want to keep you and show you how to work through the system administratively, they guide you with these investigative meetings. They investigate, find a problem, and they say to you, this is how this can be fixed. Or they suggest to you that you take an administrative leave for a certain period of time. But they have weaponized this, that they give you an option. And they say to you, we're going to have an investigative meeting, which scares you. And then they say, rather than us terminating you and citing all the reasons why we fired you, which will hurt you in the future, why don't you just take an administrative leave? Why don't you just leave on your own? You leave on your own, and we won't scandalize your name. That's weaponizing two administrative things that they can do. And this has been done to a number of teachers as I am learning, as a number of administrators as I am learning. Asked about the letter this week, Boston Public School Chief of Communications, Gabrielle Farrell, said an outside lawyer is reviewing the concerns. So this is the first time, because I've been involved in a case, and I'm going to issue that disclaimer. I know of a case. I have a friend who is in the middle of this right now. They are saying to my friend, we are going to set up these investigative hearings, and we want you to just kind of quietly get out of here. If you're a black administrator, and if you see some problems in the Boston public school system and you want to affect a change, if you want to change the system, you want to make it better, if you bring it to your administrator, chances are that those higher up have been utilizing some of these situations as a way of keeping black professionals, black teachers, from entering into the Boston public school system, where they can make a difference in the lives of black and white and Asian American, and on I can go with the reciting the racial groups. They can make a contribution in the lives of young people. They do something to check them, because these administrators are more concerned about bringing in their pals, their friends, to take these positions once they push you out. So Gabrielle Farrell said an outside lawyer is reviewing these concerns. In interviews, signers say central office officials have been unfairly humiliating and harassing they've harassed over minor protocol violations. So, as I said earlier, you could violate the Boston School Committee's system or protocols, and what they do is that they elevate something that's a 1 up to a 10 because they're trying to scare you and get you to walk out. These administrators have been unfairly humiliated. They've been harassed over minor protocol violations. And these cases seem to be orchestrated and intentional, primarily to deliver a message that you will be discredited and you will be destroyed if you speak out against racist and ineffective policies and practices, the letter says. And I'm talking about the letter that was sent to the school superintendent, Mary Skipper. In this letter, they said, quote, "These cases seem to be orchestrated and intentional primarily to deliver a message that you will be discredited and destroyed. You will be destroyed. We will destroy you. Black man and black woman, we will destroy you if you speak out against racism and ineffective policies and practices," the letter says. The abrupt departure of Hakita Kapoor, who led the Boston Public School Office of English Learners for just 2 months last year, was reported in the Boston Globe in an interview. A former BPS administrator listed 5 other recent cases. It's all documented. You're going to find, when you pull back the curtain, that there are a few high-level, can I say it again? There are a few high-level administrators in the Boston School Department who are weaponizing a process that should only be used to correct you. And they've been weaponizing this process as a way of scaring black educated professionals, black educators, been scaring them by saying, if we go public with what we say that you have done wrong, we'll destroy you. So why don't you just take an administrative leave? Why don't you just retire or resign? Why don't you just walk away? And there have been very few administrators, black administrators, very few of them have chosen to stay and fight. A lot of them have retired or just resigned. And the reason why they've done this, it could cost you $10, $15, $20,000 easy to defend yourself against what the Boston Public School administrators are trying to do to these black professionals. Who wants to spend $20,000, $10,000 defending themselves and then finding themselves out anyway? So $20,000 gone, your pension probably gone or reduced, your reputation is now destroyed, and all for what? Fighting with these folk? So black professional educators, black educators in Boston have decided just to leave, just to walk out silently. And I say today that this has to stop. Again, the abrupt departure of Hakita Kapoor, who led the Boston Public School Office of English Learners for just 2 months last year, was reported in the Boston Globe. In an interview, a former Boston administrator listed 5 other recent cases of black professionals leaving the Boston public school system. They came in to the school system thinking that they could make a difference. They came in saying that they wanted to make a difference in the lives of young people. They wanted to educate them. They wanted to address some of the issues that were causing them not to receive the best education that the Boston Public School can give them. And yet, the issue now is that some of the people that I know who are my friends are right now being told, resign, take an administrative leave, or we will take you out. That's the message. When they develop in an administrative meeting charge number 1 is that you did this. Charge number 2 is that you did that. Charge number 3 is that you did that. That's not what they're supposed to be doing with administrative meetings. They're supposed to be bringing you alongside of themselves and saying, this didn't go the way that it should have gone. Let me show you the regulations, and please don't let it happen again. And we're going to work with you to make sure you understand how to do it the correct way the next time. That's not what they're doing. We want you out. That's what they're doing. And so, Skipper's response, the superintendent responded to the letter that was sent. The letter was sent on August 24th to the superintendent. At the time, Skipper was hired as the superintendent, but she wasn't formally starting the job. She hadn't started the job. So the letter came to her when she was not fully in a position. So this has been her response. Skipper responded to the letter 2 days later, saying she and interim superintendent Drew Etchelson's would look into the matter immediately. She said, quote, "We are fully committed to resolving and ending any and all practices that target or show bias toward any staff." That's what Superintendent Drew, the school superintendent said the Superintendent Drew would look into the matter. I want you to keep Superintendent Drew's name in your mind, because he is a person that I would like to talk to one-on-one, because his name has been coming up on the lips of a number of black professional educators. His name comes up. And I want to talk with him about why so many black educators are talking to many of us, reporters and news media outlets, about him. I don't know what's going on. I have to confess that I don't know what's going on, but I'd like to speak with the superintendent. This is what he said. He said, "We are fully committed to resolving and ending any and all practices that target or shows bias toward any staff." End of quote. She said. This is what the school superintendent said. "I will be in touch with you to let you know the steps we'll be taking." So she said that the superintendent, Drew, would be looking into this matter immediately. And again, I want to read the quote. "We are fully committed to resolving and ending any and all practices that target or show bias toward any staff," she said. "I will be back in touch with you to let you know the steps we'll be taking." When Schoolyard News asked about the letter this week, Chief of Communications Gabrielle Farrell said Attorney Natasha Tidwell of the law firm Saul Ewan Onstein is reviewing the concerns that were raised. A BPS spokesperson added that outside counsel was notified and a review was requested in late August. But signers of the letter said yesterday they were not told an outside lawyer had been engaged to look into the situation. it's getting kind of iffy here. It's getting kind of all gobbledygooked. It seems like when the reporter of Schoolyard News called the administration and spoke to them, all of a sudden the school administration is saying, "Oh, we have lawyers, outside lawyers that are looking at it. Just leave us alone. We have the outside lawyers that are looking at it." All while they are terminating, they are forcing black educators out of the school system, so that by the time these attorneys come back with their conclusion, it'll be too late, because these black educators would have gone elsewhere, found jobs in other school systems, and the Boston Public School Department wins again. Well, they don't win, because when you lose articulate Harvard, Northeastern, Wellesley College, when you lose these trained educators because you push them out, it's a loss for the children, it's a loss for the city, it's a loss for the Boston Public School Department. It's a loss, and it has to stop. Gabrielle said, following this review, when this review is over, Boston Public Schools will address any findings and take all appropriate steps to continue to ensure that the Boston Public School is a discrimination-free workplace. I want you to underline that. Highlight that. That the attorneys, administrators are saying that they want to create a discrimination-free workplace. That's a lot of junk. All you need to do is to sit and talk with a number of these black educators who have been pushed out, and this byline, this terminology that they have created to make the Boston Public School look like it's a discrimination-free workplace. It may be a desire of a number of people to have a discrimination-free workplace, but there are some administrators who are killing it in making the Boston Public School a place where black educators will say, we are not going anywhere near that school. Black educators, black administrators will say, we'll go out to the suburban schools, we'll go to the private schools, but we're not going into the Boston Public School System, because they really don't want us there, because they are pushing us out left and right, and they're scaring us to leave. They're threatening us. We're going to have an administrative meeting, and this is the issue. Number one, you did this. Number two, you did that. Number three, you did that. Who wants to be around that type of environment that makes it sound like you're going to be investigated and then arrested for making a mistake? Who wants to be around that? The Boston Public Schools will address any findings, this document says, and take all appropriate steps to continue to ensure that the Boston Public School is a discrimination-free workplace. We will also follow up with Mr. Al Holland, who is a friend of mine. They're saying they're going to follow up with Mr. Al Holland in the spirit of always wanting to improve and strengthen our practices as a district. Holland was the lead signer in the letter. If I was an educator, I would have been the second person to sign the letter. Al Holland is a respected educator. He was a headmaster at the Jeremiah Burke High School and helped to save the lives of hundreds and thousands of young people that came through that school. He's been consulted by the school department on numerous issues that they didn't have an answer for. They went to Al Holland. And I wish they had gone to Al Holland and said, Al, we need help with this. But they didn't. And so now Al Holland, Dr. Holland, is writing his name, signing the document, and saying that he agrees with what these teachers are saying. Gabriel said the administration can't comment on individual cases, but Superintendent Mary Skipper does not tolerate discrimination of any kind at the Boston Public School. The problem with that sentence is that it's not the new superintendent who's creating this this negative environment, this hostile environment. It's not Mary Skipper. We don't even know the context of Mary Skipper's leadership, what environment she's going to create. She didn't create this problem. She's just coming in. There's somebody else behind the curtain. Let me say it again. There is somebody else behind the curtain. Pull the curtain back. There's somebody else whose name that I have. I know who it is. I know who's creating this hostile environment. I know who wants to pull their people in and push black people out. I know who it is. The Boston Public Schools spokesperson suggested the letter writers are wrong to see the investigatory meetings as hostile and intimidating. Let me say that the Boston Public Schools spokesperson, the person who said that, does not know what they're talking about. I have talked to a number of Boston Public School black educators, and they have told me that they were scared, that they were pushed out, they are upset, they are angry, they were concerned about their reputations being destroyed and soiled. The investigative meetings, they're hostile and they're intimidating. Quote, investigatory meetings are not discipline in nature, end of quote, the spokesperson said. An investigatory meeting is an employee's opportunity to have their account heard when students, families, or co-workers have made allegations of misconduct involving them. The spokesperson said it is to protect employees' rights and that employees are told these meetings may result in discipline and that they may have a right to be represented. The spokesperson also said the Boston Public School has 3 people who conduct internal investigations and 1 who oversees risk management, and 3 of the 4 are people of color. Natasha Tidwell, according to her law firm's website, focuses on higher education, K through 12 schools, and white collar and government enforcement, and leads internal investigations for colleges, universities, and independent secondary schools in the matter involving racial discrimination. Holland, my friend Al Holland, is a former headmaster of the Jeremiah E. Burke High School and the Edward M. Kennedy Academy for Health Careers, and later worked as a Boston Public School high school superintendent. He was called out of retirement to deal with a crisis at the Madison Park Vocational High School, and then again at Boston Latin School when racial tension boiled over in 2016. The other letter signers include many other accomplished school leaders and central office administrators. I am livid. I am upset. I am concerned because here on one side you have Boston Public School officials painting a very rosy, we want to kumbaya, we want to help these educators who have made mistakes. And on the other hand, you have the educators, the black educators, saying that's not what they're doing. They're trying to scare us into retiring or resigning. They want us out. We know what these administrators are doing in the Boston Public School Department. We know what they're doing, and they want us out because we're checking them. We're bringing in black educators, and we are helping them to learn how to survive in this environment. And they want us, these officials want us to go. I am upset because I have seen this type of procedure. I've seen this before. When these administrators want you out, they will offer you a way out if you go quietly and nicely. I wouldn't go that way. I would stand and find a way to fight. Let me just give you one last thing. It's Mary Skipper, the letter that was sent to the superintendent. I'd like to read that letter for you right now because I think it's important. The letter was addressed to Mary Skipper, this incoming superintendent, Boston Public Schools, and it reads, "We are reaching out to you due to a concern that is very troubling and disappointing. That is, that racism is still a constant and accepted practice within the Boston Public Schools. Several district leaders of color have recently been subjected to IMS. That's called, the acronym, it is investigatory meetings. So when you hear me say IM, it means investigatory meetings. And placed on administrative leave pending the final outcome of these hearings. Over the course of the past school year, I'm reading the letter now, there have been several individuals, all of color, all of the people who have gone through the investigatory meetings, they were all people of color who have experienced this type of personnel action. 2 have resigned rather than go through this humiliating process. This has caused us to reflect on the consistent pattern of behavior that the district has used to terminate and destroy the reputation of a number of former and current black and brown BPS employees by the use of these investigatory meetings. This consistent use of the IMs, investigatory meetings, has mostly impacted school leaders of color over the years. We find the recent occurrence to be highly suspect and racist given the history. Just the appearance alone raises concerns that these cases have targeted black and brown, female and male employees who were identified as threatening. The district the use of weaponizing the investigatory meetings is disturbing in that it sends a message to other employees of color who are speaking out or might want to speak out against issues they feel are unfair. These cases seem to be orchestrated and intentional. Now, these are black educators who have written this letter to the school superintendent. They're saying that it seems that this procedure, that all of this is orchestrated and intentional, primarily to deliver a message of fear and intimidation, a message that you will be discredited, we will destroy you if you speak out against racism and ineffective practices and policies. You know what these black educators need to do? They need to go down to the Boston Public School Committee's schools department's office at Nubian Square with big signs and protest what's going on here. These administrators who are using the investigatory meetings to scare people, it's orchestrated, it's intentional. They need to protest them. They need to go live with how they're feeling. They need to go on the record. They need to do this. It's not enough to have me step into it or another reporter step into it or another broadcaster, but they need to stand up and speak out to stop those in the department who are using their administrative positions to destroy black educators' lives. We are fearful that if nothing is said or done, that this pattern of behavior will continue, even when some former black and brown employees have successfully gone to court and have won their cases. So a number of these administrators have filed a case in court, and they have won against the Boston Public Schools. More and more should be doing that. Even when some former black and brown employees have successfully gone to court and have won their cases, the damage has already been done. Fear and intimidation are all too familiar components of racism. We ask that you investigate the use of the investigatory meetings with racial breakdowns and outcomes, and demand the Boston Public Schools to end this racist pattern of behavior of using investigatory meetings as a means to intimidate and silence black and brown school leaders. Investigatory meetings must be initiated with just cause, used primarily and fairly, and not as a racist mechanism to terminate and intimidate. There should be a review board established that has some type of oversight that safeguards against the misuse and abuse of personnel practices that result in a desperate targeting of staff of color disproportionately. So what they're saying in this letter, that all you need to do is look at the records of all the investigatory hearings and look at how many black folk have been pushed out as a result of it. Black and brown educators has disproportionately been pushed out of the Boston public school system. My last comment is that the hearing officer for the investigative investigatory meetings cannot be the same person who investigates the reports to the attorney who presents the case for the district. Due process should be accorded to every case, and all racial biases and discrimination eliminated, and any conflict of interest be immediately identified as a concern that must be addressed. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 retired educators who put their reputation and their signatures on the line. Concerned educators of color, I applaud you for standing up. I applaud you for making a difference. I applaud you for helping those educators, those black educators who went to college and graduate school, who were taught how to be effective educators. They spent all of this money to go into the Boston public school system, to be attacked, to be intimidated, when they stood up and spoke out against racism. This should not be happening in Boston. This should not be happening in our school department. And this will not be tolerated by me and many others who are going to take a stand on behalf of these educators. I'm Pastor Bruce Wall, and you've been listening to Morning Inspiration, heard on this radio and TV network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are here for you. We'll be back with more, so stay there. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back with more.